I wanted to show something. Took a trip with my transalp today, and one of the issues that I've got is I use this thing. Let me pull it out so you can see it. And it is awesome. I got this from Amazon. It is a power bank. What was that? Sorry. My chickens were doing weird things. Anyway, it's a power bank. So you can plug in and charge. It is a flashlight, I guess. I've not exactly used that, but it's there. It's an air compressor, so you can blow up your tires with it, and a jump starter. It's got a little thing in here, so it comes with this for your air compressor, and it comes with this to jump start something. I've jump started my skid steer, I've jump started my truck, I've jump started my motorcycle, not this one, but I've got that little red one. I've jump started it, and I jump started my Africa Twin with this a couple of times. So very handy. But what I found, is the batteries. If you leave this in this box, then what ends up happening is, you don't use it for a while. I happen to use mine on a pretty regular basis, but you don't use them for a while, and then what ends up happening is the battery goes dead. Well, then you're on the side of the road. You need to jump start your motorcycle or whatever, but it's dead, so it don't do you any good, or you can't use the air compressor or whatever it is. So I thought, I've got USB-C up here to charge my phone, and I've actually got one here that, there we go, that one is connected directly to the battery, and it's got an on-off switch, so I can turn it off and on. This one, right here, which you can't really see it, but that one is set up to where when you turn the key on, it comes on. So the idea is I've got to charge this thing sometimes, and so I can just plug it in here and turn that on and charge that whenever I need to, or whatever other device I want to charge. But I thought, man, if, I can't exactly put this up here and charge it when I'm going down the road, but what I want to be able to do is charge it as I'm traveling. But it lives in this box. So this is what I did. I bought, let me move this out of the way. Move that out of the way. This thing right here. Oh, shoot. That's got a bunch of crap plugged into it. But this thing I can turn on and turn off, and it lives in here, and this is how I've got it connected. I drilled a hole in my case. I used RTV sealant, which is super good stuff for automotive use, but it does not go bad usually. It does really good about sealing. And then I used some nuts and bolts for that. And then I just ran 12 volts to my battery to here. So I can plug this in. I am going to get some dielectric grease and put on here at some point, or I can close it up. But that gives me a power port into my box just by that. So this stays right here, runs to there, and then you can see where it comes in right here, and then that plugs in to this thing. I bought this one in particular because it has the plug built into the actual thing. And I actually had to charge a few things. I had to charge my radios, my 2 radios that I keep in here, and that jump starter. So I've actually got a little USB hub plugged into it right there that I had a bunch of stuff plugged into. But what I like about this is I can always unplug this. I can turn it on, turn it off, so I can use it at will. I'm debating on setting it up to where when I turn the ignition on, this goes hot, and when I turn it off, it cuts it off, to where it won't sit there and just drain the battery if I do happen to leave this on. But that's kind of what I'm looking at. It gives me a power port in my box. I could actually use this to power like my G90 radio if I wanted to. I could also use this to plug in my trickle charger. So if I'm storing it for winter, I've got a port to my battery right here. I can plug right into it, and I can trickle charge my battery using that. So it serves several purposes, and personally, let me move that. I think it looks really good. I think it worked out great. You know, almost looks factory, but I like it. These are water resistant or waterproof or whatever. I can always do that, but there's no way water can get around this. This is sealed off really well. And usually when these are plugged in, they're pretty good about keeping water ingress is not an issue. Now, like I said, I am going to get some dielectric grease and kind of fill that pocket so it doesn't corrode or anything. But I just thought it was a good way to do this kind of stuff. This is an adventure bike. I want to be able to go wherever, and my thinking behind this is if I'm constantly charging this thing or keeping it topped off, then wherever I go, I've got a way of jump starting my bike, and I've got a way of filling up the tires, and if I want to, I can use it as a power bank to charge my phone if I'm camping. So I think it was like 40 bucks, but it was well worth it. It worked out really good that way. So anyway, I just thought that was neat and a good way to do things. The only other thing I've considered is if I'm charging stuff in here, what if it generates heat? So what I'm considering doing is bringing a vent up from the bottom to the top of the box. So you'd have like a tube that goes up this way that's yay big, and essentially having a fan that can push the air or suck it out down or back or something like that, but essentially almost like you'd have a passage that would come down and over. So if you're riding, the water is not going to go in it. It'll shed away, but almost like a dryer vent where it's got a flap where you can actually have a fan running off of a solar panel up here that can also charge stuff as well. But essentially, if I did that, it would kind of keep the contents. This is a black box, so it pulls in heat in the summer, but it would maybe keep the contents cooler somehow. I don't know. And I figured if I put a solar panel up here that I can remove somehow, something that kind of docks in here and then clips on somehow, and then maybe it can plug in down here. I don't know, something like that. But that would at least use the sun instead of baking everything in this thing. It might help it kind of keep it cool instead. So either way, just thought that was a nifty idea and a way to handle that. And this, like I said, it's an adventure bike. This is something I want to be able to go camping with and do a bunch of stuff. I just drove my daughter and I went up to see some relatives today, and it was 2.5 hours away. And we drove up this morning, and I actually, before she got up, I installed that. The connector, the 12-volt USB thing that's in there, was like $20, and it came with the connector. It's the little USB thing, a section of this that's set up for both ends, and then a pigtail to go to your battery with that connector on it. So it came with everything I needed except for this part. And this part was $5 for 2 of them, I think, or maybe $10 for 2 of them. And I'm going to put one on this motorcycle, and I'm probably going to put one on my other motorcycle to do the exact same thing. And I'm probably going to order a few more of these and put some on my camper as well for my solar panels to tap into, or, you know, even if I just had an external 12-volt port or whatever. But either way, they're kind of handy. I'm also going to make some of these that also have a Anderson power pole connector on the other end as well at some point. But I've also got, when I first got the bike, right here, I'd added another one of those as a way to charge my bike, and it just kind of stays out of the way. But really, in all honesty, I don't need that one anymore. If I've got that one up there, it does the same thing. But either way, just thought it was nice. I've got a little over 78, I think 76 or 7,800 miles on it. There's my original tire. And I am getting down to the wear bars, or getting close. So I'll be replacing my tire pretty soon. This is a, what is this? A Metzler Carew Street tire. And it seems to get pretty good mileage. I ordered this one. It's a Michelin Anarchy something. Anarchy Adventure. Where's it at? Anarchy. I don't know. Something. Anarchy Adventure. Yeah, that's what it is. That's the exact tire that I had on my Africa Twin, and I ordered it because I knew it would work, but I couldn't get the one that I really wanted, which was the Dunlop Trail Max Mission is the one that I actually wanted. They were out of stock, and I was getting pretty low, so I ordered that one. I've had it for about a week now, and then those Dunlops just came back in stock. But this is a little bit of a softer compound than the Dunlops, so I'm going to run it over the winter, and I'll probably wear this one out, and then I'll order one of the Dunlops. So the only reason I wanted the Dunlops is everybody says that the mileage is really good. My dad's got one on his bike, and he's really impressed with how well they hold to the road. So eventually I'll get one of those. Here's my front tire. It really is good. So I've got a good bit of leeway on that. I am going to make some new brackets for this that come down. Instead of having this bend here where they mount here, I'll have it where these come sideways. And I'm also going to come across and put another one here at some point, but that'll be down the road. So either way, you guys have a great day. I hope that helps if anybody has run into that dilemma, but I love Amazon. I can buy that stuff and do things like that really easily. So you guys have a great day. Bye.